Hello, welcome to Ask Andrew. We've got Bernie with us today, Paul's manning the cameras.
Hello.
Yes, we've got some questions in. We've had quite a few. We might have to tally some over to next time. We've had that many responses, so that's really good. But we can't do Ask Andrew without the man himself. Hello, Andrew Johnson.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to another edition of
Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're very welcome, you're very welcome. Right, we're going to kick off with someone you know, Ben Emlyn Jones.
Right, okay.
He's thrown a question.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Emlyn Jones, he asks, did Arthur C. Clarke find out about the secret space programme? As in his stories, he sometimes refers to anti-gravity crafts.
Well, I mean, I don't know the honest answer to that, but I think I think Arthur C. Clarke was an insider. He was given certain knowledge, which led him to write certain things. And I mentioned briefly about that in the Secrets in the Solar System book, because when the Cassini probe reached Iapetus and found some unusual things on Iapetus, which you can read about in the Secrets in the Solar System book, or watch the videos I've done on that.
Half of Iapetus appears as dark as asphalt, and the other half is as bright as snow. When Cassini discovered Iapetus in 1671, he could only see the bright side.
There were some interesting coincidences which seemed to relate to what was in Arthur C. Clarke's 2001 story, 102. And he'd originally set part of the story of 2001 to happen around near the moon of Iapetus, which when they got there, there's apparently this little tower on the moon of Iapetus. It looks like there might be a tower. There's certainly a 12-mile high wall going around the moon. 2001 was written in the 60s. It was based on, I think, a story called The Sentinel, I think, if I recall, and then developed into the 2001 story. So I don't know whether he knew about the secret space program. I suspect he probably knew something about it. If you read my Secrets in the Solar System book, some very funny things were happening out at Iapetus, which were discovered by Cassini in 2004, which oddly Arthur C. Clarke made an address about on video, a video address, when Cassini went into orbit around Iapetus. They put it on the NASA website, and he talks about this being the setting for Dave Bowman, the astronaut, finding a Stargate.
Hello, this is Arthur Clarke, joining you from my home in Colombo, Sri Lanka. I'm delighted to be part of this event to mark Cassini's flyby of Iapetus. Cassini is going to come within a little over 1,000 kilometers of Iapetus. This is a particularly exciting moment for fans of 2001, A Space Odyssey, because that's where the lone astronaut, Dave Bowman, discovers the Saturn monolith, which turns out to be a gateway to the stars.
And so, how is that? How is that happening? You know, like 1968 was when you wrote the story, and Cassini reached Apertus, I think, in 2004. So how many work out? That's like 35 years, 36 years between. How does that happen? You know. So I think there is knowledge of stuff in the solar system, and Arthur C. Clarke was giving glimpses of that. There's other things that hint in that, which are in my other book, Secrets in the Solar System.
Oh, thank you very much, Ben, for that question. A pen is coming your way with your mug. We'll see you soon, probably. I'll sort something out for that then.
Right.
Over to you.
Okay, we've got one from Savage Audits, and he asks, does Andrew prefer nationalism or globalism?
How do I prefer? I prefer sovereignism, where each one has their own sovereign,
Yes.
you know,
Yes, I agree with that.
self-sufficiency.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple, isn't it? Yeah.
So who was that from?
Savage Audits.
Savage Audits.
Sorry, Savage, if that's not what you were looking for.
But you still get a pen, so it's all
Yes,
good.
pen on the way.
Oh, it's me, isn't it? Oh, right. Okay, AP Gamer. Thank you, AP, for your question. He asks, what projects is Andrew currently involved with?
The thing I've just about finished now is I've done a book about the Earth expansion, expanding Earth. So there's this presentation, I don't know again who's watching this, we've already seen it. I did it in, 2010, 2011, 2012, I forget, it's probably 2012 actually. And I got interested in the Hollow Earth stories. And I thought, what's this all about then? So I did a presentation on it, and I found out various things. In this idea that you've got this central sun, you have a hole at the North Pole, a hole at the South Pole, you get this effect of anomalous seismic signatures, you have that sort of shadow thing that showed up briefly. So that kind of put together a number of these stories that you hear, and it seemed to sort of suggest that it was true. So those are the things that I started to look into. And then in 1692, Edmund Halley, or Edmund Hawley as some pronounce it, put forth the idea that the Earth consists of a shell about 800 kilometres thick, and two of the inner concentric shells and an innermost core with about the same diameter of the planet Mars. Halley did have scientific grounds for his rather bizarre thought construct. It tried to why compass readings were so anomalous. Each of the inner spheres had their own magnetic poles and rotated at differing speeds. And to compound his error, Halley proposed that the inner spheres might be inhabited and that the inner atmosphere was made up of luminous gases when escaping outward, causing the aurora borealis. So people were looking at things and trying to explain them, even in those times. And so, obviously, Halley was a mathematician, and so you wouldn't expect him to come up with this idea of a hollow Earth, but indeed he did. He did speak about it. And I also found out at that time, near that time, and in fact, no, I actually found out before that. But anyway, the Earth is expanding. So it's a scientific journal. And what they found was that they detected by what are called geodetic measurements, they've had satellites in orbit now, able to measure the size of the Earth. Guess what? The equator has increased in size by 18 millimetres in about 18 millimetres per year over the last 10 to 12 years when they've had these measurement equipment set up and going. Guess what? There is now, for example, the International School of Geophysics 37th Interdisciplinary Workshop on Earth Expansion Evidence. There's a whole field of scientific study now which is looking into this. It's sort of a bit outside academia, but it's still getting there. And that happened in October last year. I can't remember if we've talked about this on Unite Planet before.
Yes, I think
we may have touched on it. I don't think we did a full presentation on it. But if you look at the evidence, and there's a chap called Dr. James Maxlow who's done this, an Australian geologist who's actually from Middlesbrough. Good guy, very kindly sent me a free copy of his book, which is called Beyond Plate Tectonics, which is about how the Earth has expanded, and he goes into great detail about how you can prove this from the geology and the fossil record and so forth. So I've written a book about that because I was contacted by a chap called Peter Woodhead a few years ago, because once you accept that the Earth has expanded from its original form, which it has, and I'm totally on board with that, have been for a number of years, you then ask, well, how can that physically have happened? And the chap called Peter Woodhead, he argued to me in a very good sort of way that he thinks that the core of the Earth was originally made out of ice, or there was a very high proportion of ice in the core when the Earth formed, and eventually that all heated up to form water. It melted, and then that water started to boil, and the Earth has expanded because of the steam created during the boiling of the water. And I go into quite a lot of evidence that that is what's happened in the book.
So are you writing a book?
I've written it, yes. Now I'm just waiting now to get, because I quote James Maxlow in it, and I'm trying to get his okay, and I'm finalising some quotes with Peter Woodhead, and then I'm just going to put that out probably before Christmas.
Great one for future show.
Yeah.
Thank you, AP Gamer. Pen coming your way.
Right, okay, we've got Dan Allsparks, and he asks,
Oh,
do you know?
I know Dan, yeah, I know
You know
Dan
Dan?
very well.
If Andrew thinks the present civilization has the potential to survive in longevity or disappear into a cloud of hazy, vague memory like so many civilizations before.
Oh, well, I mean, again, that's predicting the future, which I don't like doing. You know.
Come on, there's a pen involved here. Come on.
Well, I predict that Dan will get his pen. How's that?
That's true as well. Wow.
So I don't know really. I mean, from what I've read, I think it could go either way. We could end up in a situation where civilization. It depends really who wins out. I mean, there's a small group of us now who know about free energy. We know that that's been suppressed. We know, for example, that that could be used to solve most of the problems that we have in the physical world. But unfortunately, free energy on its own won't solve the spiritual problems that we have. And I think we can't separate the two really with this sort of scenario. So I think it could go either way. We could win out. We could have a new civilization, you know, blossoming out of the one that we have now, or the secret keepers and the dark controllers, they could win out and you know, impose everything and run their world their way until it becomes uninhabitable. You know, I honestly don't know which way it's going to go.
So if they run it into the ground, as it, not into the ground, but fine tune it how they want it, whether that be the New World Order, whatever the thing is, where there's 500 million people serving and the elites existing in this, I don't know, whatever part of paradise they have. Is that, okay, it's shit for the rest of us, but for them, is that just a utopia? Is that
might be. We don't know, do we? I mean, I don't think like them, so that might be their ideal goal.
Yeah.
You know, it could be that, as you say, their utopia.
A sustainable planet with a sustainable amount of people? May people look back and say it happened in 10 years' time. 200 years from now, would they look back and go, they were the greatest? You know, they thinned out the herd.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not for it.
No, I don't.
I'm like you. I'm a sovereign. You know, I think we've got free will. I don't want to be herded into a future that I haven't no say. But what I'm saying is, if we follow it down the line, and then that place exists, and they have sustainable. In the current model, it's not sustainable at the moment, is it?
Well, not with the level of disclosure. It isn't. No, you know. But when they're controlling everything, they're controlling the weather potentially, or at least some of the time, you know, and controlling the resources. So, you know, where will that end up? I don't know. I don't know what the timescales are. I think the only things that we can say is that we've got more digitalisation of things. You know, we've got more digital money now, and maybe cash is going to disappear, certainly in our culture, in the next 50 years or something. But then again, are there going to be some curveballs thrown in? Are we going to get some benevolent alien race coming in and saying, right, that's enough loot, you lot, clear out all those Illuminati, you can bugger off.
Yeah.
You know, we've got this little moon you can have, you can clear off there, we'll give you whatever, and you can leave these other guys alone. Is that going to happen? You know, I don't think so. But I, again, shouldn't rule it out as a possibility, you know. So I don't know.
Has it ever happened before? Apart from in a school where the teachers come up and broke up a fight?
Yeah, we don't know. Again, what happened with Atlantis? You know, what caused that? Was it just a global cataclysm of a planet coming past, or a comet hitting, or a giant weapon going off, or what caused the destruction of Atlantis? yeah, I think Graham Hancock and stuff suggest that it was a massive flood which was triggered by something. But could we have such an event now? Or is it such that the controllers have the technology that if we have a comet or an asteroid coming in, they could deflect it if they wanted to? I've mentioned this before, I think. Have they got technology now that if an object came into the solar system, say this technology that destroyed the World Trade Center, which can change gravity and stuff, if they've managed to advance on that, make it and scale it up so that they can steer a planetary-sized body or a body that's a few kilometres wide, they could even avert a disaster which maybe was what caused the destruction of Atlantis. I don't know. So it's all up for grabs, I think.
It is like that.
Thank you very much, Dan. Pens on your way. How many pens has Dan got?
Well, that's be the first one.
How many have you sent him, Andrew?
Well, it's quite a pensive person.
Oh!
Pencil. And so you get free
You
jokes.
always one for the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get free jokes on this program. Okay, the final question is from Matt Campbell. Thank you, Matt.
Good old Matt, yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah, I know him well, yeah.
Do you know everyone?
They're all his mates. Mates to write him. He gave him the question to us.
Well, he says, Andrew, I have a question. It says it's a sensible question. It's a question that will test your limits of your IQ and stretch your sinews of your knowledge to bursting point. So it says the question is: given that God is infinite and the universe is also infinite, would you like a toasted tea cake?
Toasted tea cake now.
Is that on offer, Paul? By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think Matt was trying to force the issue there.
Yeah, I think he is. Yes.
Yeah. The God and toasted tea cakes are the two topics in relationship there. And I have, God in one notional ham and tea cake in the other. Which am I going to choose? I think it's going to have to be the tea cake, because my dad was one of the people that used to bring us tea cakes from the shop when I was a kid. So I've got fond memories of tea cakes, and I hate going to church, so I haven't got fond memories of the sort of God thing. So I'm gonna have to go with the tea cakes, I think, Matt, on that one.
I can't argue with that either. I like a toasted tea cake too. Right, well that's all the questions, Andrew. So you've got to muse over which one do you think was
There is
the
two more
best one?
questions if you want.
That's for the Christmas show.
Oh, sorry.
Might get a few more as well.
Yeah.
So remind me of the question we had. Dan with the question about the civilization, the way it's going.
Yes.
Matt with the tea cakes.
Matt the tea cake. Ben Owen Jones at Austin Clark.
With the RC
Savage
Clark.
about the national or global. So that's how we're doing it.
I think it's got to be the tea cakes.
You're going to tea cake.
Yeah. Even though that technically wasn't a question, I'm going to break the rules.
Well, the glare to be broken. So that's brilliant. That means Matt Campbell, you go into the draw to win a star prize, whatever that prize will
It's a date with you, isn't it?
be.
The weekend away in Rome.
Was that the? Oh God!
Or it could be a fruity massage.
Oh God, yeah.
Don't say both.
With
That's
harmonic.
not the prize, by the way. It's not. Definitely not. Right. So all these people will be getting pens. If anyone who's not received the pen yet, they are pending. Pending.
Yes,
You see?
absolutely.
What did you do there?
Did you see what I did?
Was that play on words?
It was
Sorry, I didn't
very
see.
much a play on word, yeah. Attempting to anyway. So they'll be coming your way, and of course these will be getting pens too. Matt goes into the draw with only Lisa, isn't they, so far? So, we was going to say there's going to be two, weren't they? So, Andrew, pick another one to go into the draw.
Oh, another one into the draw. Well, it's got to be Dan, I think.
So there's two mates that are going in.
Yeah. Well, I said that would put them in, yeah. So.
Oh yeah, you see.
Last night when I texted the questions.
They don't win the prize yet, though. They might not thank you later on.
But the joke is that they're getting pens, but neither of them can write. So,
Well, they can learn. Right, that's Dan and Matt into the draw. So that's 3 people into the draw for Christmas show. We'll be having a special Christmas show, Ask Andrew, so get your questions in. If they want to be seasonal, great, they don't have to be seasonal, but we'll leave that.
Don't send too many questions because Johnny's going to run out of wallpaper if you don't.
Yeah, I'll have to write them on old wallpaper. But I have got quite a bit.
Oh, it's a big wall,
so to speak.
I'll never be able to patch this back together.
Cycling.
So thank you very much again,
Thank you.
Andrew. For the great questions. Keep bringing them in, and we'll see you next time. And thank you again, Andrew. And we'll see you on the next Ask Andrew, and probably before as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Brilliant. Well done.
Kindness is nice, and kindness can stop you from saying all the things in life you'd like to. So if there's something you'd like to try, if there's something you'd like to try, ask me, I won't say no, how could I? Spending the warm summer days indoors, writing frightening verses